Hi, good evening, folks, and welcome to Here's the Deal. Sorry about the late start here. We had some technical difficulties, but we got them worked out. Hope you're enjoying the nice weather out today in northwestern North Dakota. We had 83 degrees up here in the Williston area, so uh, that's pretty neat. At any rate, tonight we have a regular on. State Senator Jeff Magrum is on with us tonight, and we're just going to visit a little bit about the upcoming press conference tomorrow at the Capitol. And it's to ask the Attorney General to look into the um, Summit Solutions investors. So with that, I'm going to bring on Jeff Magrum. Hey, Jeff, how are you?
Good, Shiloh. I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing good. We're enjoying the nice weather up here, that's for sure.
Yeah,
So it was 83 degrees here in the Williston area, so it was pretty
yeah,
nice.
it's about what it is here too. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you got an upcoming press conference tomorrow.
Yep. We start at 10:30 in the morning at the Capitol. We're actually following up a press conference by Drew Wrigley on the explosion of crime in North Dakota. Some of the numbers are pretty astounding that he has as far as murders and just different crimes that are going on. And so he's trying to outline that. So and then we have our press conference at 10:30, and we're really the goal of the conference is to just draw attention to the fact that we're asking the Attorney General to investigate who owns Summit Carbon Solutions because we had a hearing in Public Service Commission hearing to do with their request for a permit for siting of their pipeline. It would be 2 weeks ago from tomorrow, 2 weeks ago on Tuesday, and the question was asked, who are your investors? And they keep dodging around it. Now they did release 5 investors, and those are, and one of them is Continental Resources, which is Harold Ham. And then we have
Right.
TPG Rise Climate. Now, if anybody wants to look this up, the risefund.com, it's mostly owned by or highly invested in by the Chinese Silk Road Fund, and that is the Chinese Silk Road is owned by the Chinese government. So we have the Chinese government investing in a pipeline in the what I call the gut of America. Basically, is right up the middle of America and right into North Dakota, right through the heartland. And so, and the other investor in that fund, that's a large investor, is Saudi Arabia. And then we have another fund that is called. Well, then there's the Summit Egg Group, and there's the SK Group. Now, the SK Group is South Koreans, and they're
Hmm.
looking to invest in carbon projects, and so that's another one. And then we have the Tiger Infrastructure Partners. And that's tigerinfrastructure.com. And I would recommend anybody that's interested in the subject to look at some of these companies. And this company here is a totally woke company. They only invest in what they call responsible investments of environment, social, and governments, ESG. So they're a big ESG investment group. And so everybody thinks that I shouldn't say everybody, but the coal and oil people are pushing this agenda that they say this pipeline will be used for enhanced oil recovery someday. Well, I don't think these companies are going to allow that to happen. But, I could be wrong, but I think we're getting duped here. So, anyway, the question is who owns this company? And if the Chinese don't own it all, or they don't own it all now, but what's to say they're not going to buy more of it as time goes on? And then the other thing is the surveyors have told us that this companies, what the surveyors are doing is going out and getting blanket easement on these
Mhm.
pipelines. So what a blanket easement is, let's just say they come to a landowner and say, hey, we want to cross your land and we need an easement to cross your land. And the landowner might think, well, I'm going to give them an easement for 150-foot wide strip of land to build the pipeline and 50 feet to operate the pipeline. But what they're doing is getting these blanket easements, so they're signing up the whole quarter. And the issue is, one thing that's uh, to be noted by the landowners is that anytime they sign up, and these are 99-year leases, anytime they sign up with these companies for a 99-year lease, they're giving these companies dominant authority over their land. What does that mean, dominant authority? Well, they can go on your land anytime they want. They literally can control hunting rights, access rights. They can control different aspects that could affect the operation of their project. So anytime these people sign up, they think, well, I'm going to get a nice paycheck. Well, they're cursing their family or whoever owns this land afterward for 99 years to have to deal with this company, not knowing, not having any idea who is going to be the owner in them as time goes on. And especially starting out with all these foreign investors. And another thing to think about is the fact that they're harvesting our tax credits and taking them out of the country. So you think, well, this is good for America. This is good for North Dakota. Yeah, right. The Chinese are harvesting. Basically, it's almost like a huge money laundering operation because they're coming in here, putting a pipeline in, and for years they're going to be collecting all this money on this carbon capture, and it does not stay in America. It goes to China, it goes to South Korea, it goes to Saudi Arabia. So but basically, we passed,
Infiltrating.
yeah, we passed two bills. We passed two bills. One was House Bill 1135, and that had a vote of 90-1 in the House and a vote of 47-0 in the Senate, and it was signed by the governor. That bill is prohibiting foreign ownership of ag land except for Canada. And they are buying the land where their infrastructure is, such as a compressor station. And then the second bill that we passed was Senate Bill 2371. That had an 83-8 vote in the House, and the Senate was unanimous 47-0 against any type of foreign adversary owning land. And there's 6 foreign adversaries right now, and China is on the list. So China is coming in under the radar, so to speak, as an investor in this pipeline. And really, what our question is, since we just passed 2 bills that prohibit foreign land ownership and especially foreign adversaries, we need to know who the investors are in this company. And the next question will be, do these laws apply to this type of infrastructure? And there is a study on 2371 too, and I'm sure this will get brought up during the interim in this study. So that's my rant on that. Go ahead, Shiloh.
So, okay, my first question was going to be, let's explain to people why these foreign countries would invest in something like this, and you kind of already answered that because of obviously the tax credits, the money going through it. And if they can control the land like that, they can control us. If they're now, am I interpreting that right? That they sign these leases, so at any point in time, like you said, they can come on your land anytime they want. How does that all work with these leases again? One more time, Jeff.
Yeah, that's exactly right. They control that land. They are the dominant authority over that land because the person that owns the land now has given them that right in exchange for money, a one-time payment. Now,
So it,
the thing is they're everybody that owns that land after is committed to that easement.
these.
Yeah.
So now, I know some of these easements or some of these leases, like after the 99 years is over, the landowner has so many days or however that works to renew or deny these. Is that correct too, or how does that work? Let's say we get to
Well,
the end of this 99-year lease.
yeah, I've never seen the actual contract of on this one. I've seen the ones for windmills, and they can set a time limit as much, and they try to get everybody to hurry to sign. That way, they don't have time to think about think things through, and consult other people. So they're like a high pressure sales people that'll say, well, if you don't sign up, we're going to get the neighbor to sign up type of issue. And
Gotcha.
I know there's been a lot of bullying tactics on this project, and and there was trespassing by surveyors, and then they got kicked off the land, and the pipeline turned around and sued the landowners to access their land, and the judge just ruled on that. And that was one of the laws we were trying to change during session. It's a law that was passed in 1895, and it allows people to access your land for surveying without permission, as long as they don't leave a mess or anything. But these guys,
Right.
the way I understand, they're actually going out with small drilling rigs and drilling and getting soil samples and everything else. So I don't know, but Judge Dan Narum out of Ellendale. I mean, there's been so many things that are wrong with this project. The Supreme Court Justice John Jensen he gave Dan Narum the job of hearing all the cases and making one ruling. And he's a southeast district court judge, and we're South Central district. And so you have a judge that wasn't even elected to rule on cases in a district he doesn't have any authority in.
So I seen that one of the descriptions here that you guys are posting said that you have 30 legislators signed on with this as
I
far
got
as.
I have 32 right now as of now, and I'm waiting. I haven't put all the names to the letter yet because I was waiting for a few guys that I had left messages for, and there's right now is a hard time to get legislators to. They're not checking their emails. It's like session got out and they just disengaged, because
Yeah.
we all have our other life, that we have to get
Right.
to, and of course a lot of them took vacations. Some of them, I just heard a guy was just headed for Europe today. One guy went to Portugal. Another guy's in Montana. I got a hold of, and so people are. It's like herding cats right now. They're everywhere and trying to get them. The one guy I got a hold of, he was out in the bean field, and he's hardly goes home. He's pretty well sleeping in his tractor trying to get his beans planted, and he does custom seeding. So I was very excited to get the 32 I got, because
Yeah.
at first there was going to be a District 8 letter with me and Brandon Pritchard and Sue Ann Olson, two representatives from District 8. And then someone said, why don't you get more legislators? So I thought, well, I'll make a goal to get 12. And then pretty soon I was 20. And then today I had some more call me and say, hey, put me down as a signatory on your letter. So I did, and I counted just a little bit ago. I got 32 solid legislators.
Were you surprised by that number?
Yes and no. I mean, being the vote was so strong, I figured people would be willing to, but there's a lot of political pressure to not support us. I'm sure, because, like I said earlier, the coal and oil guys were pushing for this pipeline, which I accuse them of selling us out, because I think the
Yeah.
further we go down this road of the Green New Communist deal, the harder it's going to be to get out. And I have no doubt that the people pushing the Green New Communist deal have no intention of keeping oil and coal in business. So I think they're seeing the writing on the wall, so to speak, the lobbyists for coal and oil. And I think they're thinking, well, you know what, let's take the money and run type of deal. And I think they're playing a very dangerous game, and so they're in a way they're selling us out.
Yeah, I would agree. I was born and raised in that Hazen area, which is coal country, and I know that there's been a lot. I've had debates with people that are in that area, and I don't. I feel like I feel like they're misinformed on even the science and how this is all going to work. And of course, they probably feel the same way about me. And I can tell you this, though, being up here in the Williston area and being in the oil and gas as long as I have now, a lot of us common folks who are just working in the industry, I mean, we know what's going on. It's not, I believe that it's the higher ups, obviously, like your Harold Hams and people like that, Kathy Nessets that are pushing for this. And it's unfortunate. I, you know, all we can do is keep fighting and doing what we're doing, right?
Well, yeah, and I went to a class last summer on this carbon capture that they had in Bismarck, and Kathy Nessett was there as well as other people talking about how they store it in the formation and how it turns to stone after a while. The carbon turns to stone and so on. But they all are in this belief that they're going to eventually, after 12 years of credits, and technically it would be 14 years because it'll take a couple years to build a pipeline. So then they get this enhanced oil recovery going after 14 years. What happens if the federal government says, well, let's reinstate these credits like they did for the windmills? And it
Mhm.
makes it more lucrative to store it than to use it. And another thing, and I haven't found the documentation on this, although I've been looking for it, that someone told me on the last federal omnibus bill, they had a component in there that said that if land is considered polluted, the federal government can take authority over that land. Well, let's just say that 100,000 acre disposal field out in the Beulah Hazen area starts seeping a little CO2, and their testers show elevated CO2 levels because the
Right.
EPA looks at carbon dioxide as a pollutant. What happens if they come in and say, "Hey, guess what? This land is now considered polluted." So not only do the Chinese own it, the federal government is glumming onto it, and so in the end, so who are you going to fight? The Chinese, the federal government, and I can see them coming back to the legislature and saying, "Help us." And so
Well,
then you'll get the state involved to try to defend the landowners. I'd rather defend them now before we get down this slippery slope.
because you know it's coming. I mean, it's the writing is on the wall.
I
But
see it clearly. It's a big problem. This is part of that 30 by 30 land grab.
yep,
It's just that simple, and people are willing to give up their property rights for temporary security, temporary money that they're not going to be able to pay to buy their way back out of that mess. And so they would be better off to sell that land and go somewhere else then, because they're going to be out in the end. Yeah, they're going to get some money for now, and it's going to all look good, as what I think. It's just like these windmills. Most of the wind people that have windmills wouldn't sign up for more windmills. They found out that the shine wore off, and now they're stuck with this windmill forever. They feel like they cursed their children and their grandchildren dealing with a company from the one in our area is NextEra, and Lord knows who even owns that company. We didn't have these laws in place, and people weren't talking about foreign investors. But
right.
they already are up and running, so they'll be grandfathered, no doubt. But um, there's most of these people wouldn't take the windmills again that I've talked to. They're like, man, that was a mistake. We wish we would have never signed up.
Yeah. I know back in the early 2000s, in like 2007 and 2010, somewhere in there, I had some friends in Wilton, in that Wilton area, and the same thing. I mean, I was at some of their places, and just the noise alone was gut wrenching. And I know that just what you said, a lot of them, they wish they had never done it.
Yeah. Yeah, and this pipeline, I think, is gonna be, I know some of the people that have signed up wish they would have never signed up. As a matter of fact, I heard yesterday that there's gonna be a lawsuit over east of us. Some landowners got together and they said that they were bullied into signing these contracts with the threat of eminent domain. And I know a local guy here that told me that they told him if he doesn't sign up, they're gonna eminent domain him and he won't get anything. And instead of him checking out how eminent domain works, he signed up and took the money. And he's hoping that the pipeline project goes away because the money they paid out to the landowners is non-refundable. So that he's hoping that they don't put the pipeline in, he gets to keep the
Oh,
money. And he signed up at the low dollar amount too. I think he signed up for that 200 and some dollars. Well, no, he would have probably got about $400 a rod, and the rod is 16 and a half feet. Now they're paying as high as $1,100 a rod.
yeah.
So them first guys that signed up, they're feeling pretty bent over.
So where do you see all of this going? I mean, what's the end game? I mean, we
Well,
have a lot. I mean, what do we as, patriots, what do we have going for us right now as far as this is concerned? I mean,
I mean, I think we have a pretty good thing going. We have a good ag economy. We have a good oil and coal economy. I think we should be protecting what we have.
mhm,
They're not going to go. The country's not going to go away from oil right now, and we should be protecting our coal power because we can't live on intermittent power. Nobody can. I mean, and look at the side effect of all of this. The more windmills they put in, the higher our energy bill gets. And I haven't heard of anybody's energy bill that went down. As a matter of fact,
right.
mine has doubled in the last 10 years. And then if you
Yeah.
look on your energy bill, you see this uh, uh, renewable energy fee on there. Many of them, it's right on the bill, renewable energy fee. So these landowners that think, oh, well, I'm getting all this money, yeah, but we're paying them. Plus, we're paying a
Hmm.
higher priced energy. So, but we're not supposed to complain about that because there's supposedly money coming in. But the majority of the money is probably going to these funds that are going to people in large cities or to another country. So I don't. The majority of the money isn't staying here anyway, and there is some employment with the Green New Deal communist jobs, but not like there is with oil. But
Right.
I don't. As far as as a conservative, I don't like to see real fast change because then that can be a problem. So the more conservative a person is, the slower to change he is, which isn't, sometimes it can be too conservative, and I've been guilty of that to where I probably missed out on some opportunities because I was too conservative. But I've always maintained a decent lifestyle, and I've always had money to pay my bills, so it's worked out
Yep.
just fine. But I probably could have been more aggressive investing, and some of these things I've been pretty conservative on, but
Hmm.
that's worked out okay.
Um, have you talked to Drew Wrigley about this? What kind of reception are you getting from him if you have?
Yeah, I talked to him last week when I told him what we were doing, and I just talked to him about an hour ago, as a matter of fact, because I heard about his press conference and somebody said, well, he's trying to upend your press conference. So I called him and he said, no, it's about, like I told you, it's about the increase in crime in North Dakota. And he's got some statistics he wants to share with the public. But he said that he would look at this, and the unfortunate thing is these laws don't go into effect until August 1st. So he might have a limit on what he can do. So I got a lot of information here, about 45 pages of information, and he told me he would assign it to a BCI agent and go from there and kind of see, because nobody knows how these laws are going to work. Was when we passed these laws, we didn't talk about a situation like this. The only reason I brought it up was because I was watching the public hearing in Linton, and one of the lawyers kept asking, well, who's the investors? Who's the investors? And he brought up the Chinese Silk Road Fund. And I was sitting there watching. I was still at home because I knew it would go all day and into the night. So I watched the first part in the morning on Beck TV. And I got to thinking while I was sitting here, I thought, well, just a minute here. We have just passed these bills. So I printed them off and I went down to the Public Service Commission hearing on Tuesday. And I was second to the last to speak. My son Aaron was after me. He's the chairman of the Emmons County Commission. But anyway, I brought this up. I said, we have these two bills we just passed, and 2371 has a component in there to ask the Attorney General for investigation. Because the question was at the legislature, how do you find out who owns this, this land or whatever? Well, then that somebody had the bright idea to we'll have the Attorney General look at it. So Randy Christman asked me during the hearing, he said, well, whose job is this? And I said, well, it's yours. Well, then I was encouraged afterward to just maybe ask as a legislator, because we do have, under law, we have the authority to ask for opinions or investigations. So I thought, well, that's where I got to putting this letter together. And I was thinking small at first, but like I said, we got 32 legislators that are willing to put their name on it. So there's definitely concern about it.
I'm glad to see that there's that many.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's just it. I was wondering what the guys were thinking, but I think most of them have accepted the fact that this project needs to be looked at, and there's a lot of public sentiment against it. And then where they're going up here in my district around Bismarck is just, it's crazy. If you look at the route, they're going to be going northwest from Hazelton northwest up, and they wrap around by Apple Creek. If you're familiar with Apple Creek area, they go around by Apple Creek, and then they go up on the east side of Bismarck. And another question I had is, why is this pipeline seem to be going through the most fertile land and the most highly developable land in the state? Well, why? Because they're going to have dominant authority wherever they have easements for 99 years. So, I mean, but they really struck the hornet's nest up in that Bismarck area, because everybody knows up there that land that they bought for maybe 1,000 or 2,000 acres worth way more than that now, and it'll continue on to elevate in price. And all you got to do is drive up there and see why. I mean, that's just exploding in growth to the northeast of Bismarck. And that pipeline would wrap around the northeast side. And then if you know where Hogue Island is up by Double Ditch, that's where it goes down through a valley over there, and it crosses the river. And of course, the people that live there realize that. And at the public hearing we had in Linton, they brought in the fire chief from Mississippi, where they had the leak, same type of pipes, a 24-inch pipe with similar pressures, about 2,000 pounds pressure or more. And there was a small community near the leak of 40-some people, and they found them all passed out, and the vehicles wouldn't run. So the first responders had a heck of a time. But he told a story, and hopefully Beck puts that recording up, because it's a very interesting story. And he said that pipeline company didn't even really get them equipped to deal with a leak like that. So they weren't equipped. They weren't knowledgeable on how to attack it, as far as turning the valves off. Who do they contact? And like you say, it was very interesting. So you look at Bismarck. Let's just say this thing started leaking on a day like today or evening like this where there's no wind. Carbon dioxide is heavier than air, so it becomes like a fog. It's a liquid in the pipe. When it's compressed, it reminds me of Freon. When you compress it, of course, when you compress Freon, it turns to a gas. Well, this is opposite. When you compress CO2, it turns to a liquid. but when it comes out of the pipe, it turns back to a gas. And that gas would follow a ravine, and let's just say it followed along the Missouri River right into Bismarck, Mandan, and a bunch of people were being asphyxiated by the CO2. Now you got to get ambulances out there and first responders. Then where do you take them, to the hospital? I mean, what if you have 1,000 people that need medical treatment? I mean,
Yeah.
how are these hospitals? We have big hospitals in Bismarck, but could they handle that? I mean, there. And then the other thing that's been brought up is CO2 mixed with water turns to carbonic acid. So it'd be very corrosive and acidic. So there's a lot of hazards to it. So if they're going to put the pipeline in, they surely shouldn't go around Bismarck like they are. But anyway, the bottom line is really what we're concerned about right now is who's going to own this pipeline. So I know we talked about maybe going 15 minutes, so I imagine you had something else lined up. I better let you go.
No, I don't. I was just returning a thing. So, but yeah, no, I agree with you about that too, because I don't think that there's a way that the hospitals would have enough room. But I don't
Well,
know.
I think the biggest city that has a carbon pipeline running by it in North Dakota is Tioga. There's a carbon pipeline that goes up into Canada from Beulah area, from the Great Plains
Mhm,
Synfuels plant, and that's, I do believe, a 4-inch,
okay.
a much lower pressure. So
Mhm,
I mean, it wasn't very good foresight to think that they should go up around Bismarck like they are, and that's where I got pulled into this because of District 8 and the people that have elected me are like, they don't want it, so they're telling me, stop, see what you can do to
right. That's
kill
tough.
the pipeline. But I don't know that I don't really know what the future is going to be with this pipeline, if they're going to try to push through that Bismarck area. At the PSC hearing, the one guy made the comment, we're looking at a south route, south of Bismarck, which would put them straight west to Hazelton. It's a lot less populated, at least. But I don't think the people in Emmons County want it neither. There's some that probably do, but there's a lot of pushback here. But we don't have the population to push real hard like the Bismarck people do.
Hmm.
So I don't know what's going to happen, but I think what they were doing when they said they want to go do a south route, I think they were doing like a head fake type of deal, like a hokey doke, like, oh, we're
Right.
looking for a route going south of Bismarck. So there we go. Oh, thank goodness, and then that would take the pressure off. But a lot of people seen through it and said right away they're just saying that so everybody backs off. And sure as heck, here they were out surveying. Trent Luce and Lori Hintz were out videoing them. They were out with 12 surveyors the other day trespassing because the judge ruled in their favor. So they obviously are not going south of Bismarck if they're up here southeast of Lincoln surveying. So,
Yeah. Hmm.
but
That's
yeah,
crazy.
I don't remember how many schools. Is it 7? They're going to be within a reasonable amount, close to their. I mean, there's Hazelton School. There's Apple Creek School. There's what the heck are they all? I can't think of them all, but there's several schools are going to be
So would that
relatively
be
close
Lincoln
to.
as well then?
It's going to be east of
Apple
Lincoln.
Creek?
Yep,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. It would be
So, because their school's right on the east side of town too.
right, and I
So,
think they're east of Apple Creek School is the route, but the route. I guess I haven't actually followed the route in very close detail. I just looked at the map.
gotcha.
Yeah,
I got a
it's
question. It says, do you get any county or city commissioners to show up for the press conference?
well.
Do
I
you
did
talk?
ask. I did ask Brian Bittner, the chairman of the Burleigh County Commission, if he wanted to be a part of it. He hasn't gotten back to me, but Um, he supports it. My son Aaron, who's chairman of Emmons County Commission, supports it. But Aaron felt like it should be our legislative thing. It shouldn't be a county and city and all, mixing it all up.
Yeah.
So he didn't feel like he should be involved, and maybe Brian feels the same way. I haven't followed him up with a phone call. I talked to him last week, and he said he would think about being, standing with us at the press conference. But see, he was involved with the press conference probably a month ago when John Warford, the former mayor of Bismarck, he had a press conference at the Capitol, and he had some really good speakers there. He had Curtis Junt, who's a pipeline builder for many years. He had Steve Bakken, former mayor of Bismarck, and who else? There was Dustin Garelo or Gary Lowe, however you say his name. I think he was kind of the leader of it. And then John Warford, who's a really good speaker. And so they had a really good press conference. And then Brian Bittner was there. So I don't know that I don't know that we needed to bring the county people in because um, they've already increased updated, I should say, their ordinances.
Gotcha.
So they've updated their ordinances to protect their people, and I don't know what more they can do neither. So, and this really is a question by the legislature on who the investors are and how does these new laws apply.
So let's say that the new laws don't, and they find a loophole. Then what?
Well, then go with another plan, I guess, and see what happens.
Can you?
Like I say, 2371 has a study component in it, so that will most likely get studied. And I've talked to the majority leader, and I probably need to send out an email to all the legislators that are on legislative management to make sure that they choose that study. But I would think they would because it's kind of a hot button issue right now. So we can bring this information forward into that study and say, hey, look at this pipeline that it's going through. I mean, look at you have these owners and that are foreigners.
Mhm.
So it's a good time to do the study too. But I don't have an answer. This is a question that came up. I was encouraged to follow it through, and that's really all my goal is here is to follow through on the question of who owns the pipeline and see where it goes. And tomorrow we're going to have at the press conference me and Sue Ann and Brandon Pritchard, District 8 legislative team speaking, and then Jeff Hoverson is planning on being there, and he'd like to say a few words. Matthew Heilman from District 7. Lori Van Winkle, who's also a District 3 legislator with Jeff. She's coming down from Minot. Kent Weston is going to try to come down from the Devil's Lake area. He's a new senator from up there. And I'm trying to get Mike Machenbacher from District, what the heck, I don't remember his district number. But anyway, I talked to him tonight, and he's going to see if he can come by and possibly Doug Larson from the Mandan area. So we might have between 5 and 8 legislators standing together. And then, like I said, the 32 that I have, that includes the ones I'm talking about that are
Mhm.
signing on.
That's
So it's
awesome.
kind of like, your question, what's next is like, it's kind of like, burying a water line. You just go 1 foot at a time. It's like learning to walk 1 step at a time. I have
Right.
no answers about what's coming, but I mean, this is, there's, I don't see this pipeline getting built for a long time because unless all these lawsuits that I'm hearing about, people are getting ready to file, all are just gossip. I think there's
Mhm.
going to be a boatload of lawsuits with this company, and it maybe not, obviously not just in North Dakota. We're talking This is a 5-state pipeline. It affects Nebraska and South Dakota and Iowa and Minnesota and us. So and I know the South Dakotans are putting up a huge fight, and they've been getting stomped. So they turned around and Summit turned around and filed eminent domain on 80 landowners down there recently. And Trent Boost was down there. They had a rally down in Leola, South Dakota, which is just south of Zeeland, my old district. But I didn't make it down there. That was last Monday. I would have loved to have gone down, but I just have too many things going on. And so I didn't make it down there, but I guess they had a real good turnout of landowners that were there to protest the pipeline.
Is their governor doing anything for them?
Their governor's been silent.
Hmm.
I do know their governor, Kristi Noem, sent a text to somebody the other night that somebody shared with me, and this person knows one of the Kristi Noem's assistants, and she was asking this other person from North Dakota who the legislators are that are asking the question about ownership. And this person shared that with me the other night, and I said, "Well, that's interesting that they're Kristi Noem is wondering what's going on." So I think there's just the bottom line is with the CO2 is everybody knows it's a waste. And it's a waste of time. We have dams that need fixing. We have roads that need fixing. We have bridges from the 20s and 30s and 40s that are shot that should be replaced. I mean, there's so much city infrastructure, county infrastructure, on and on. And we're sitting here spending billions of dollars, and like this one, it'll be $1 billion a year in taxpayer money. Just and then when you find out these foreigners are huge investors, and that money's leaving the country, and it's like I said, it's like a money laundering operation. It's just frustrating. And so instead, you think the Chinese would invest in our roads and bridges? I do know that they own that toll road down in Kansas, and they own a toll road over in Illinois. They've been buying up infrastructure in America already.
Landry decided to join us.
Hi, Landry. I got a grandson named Landry.
She has a grandson named Landry.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure does.
Landry.
That's how we spell her name.
Well, I guess it's a universal name, huh?
Yeah. She I don't know if I told you this story, but so when my wife was pregnant with her and we were trying to discuss names, and of course I wasn't taking it very seriously, and anyway, she wanted to name her. She had a couple names, Jocelyn, Lyric, and then No, Jocelyn. Oh, okay, sorry. And then I don't remember, there was another one, but then I came up with Landry from Tom Landry, the Dallas Cowboys coach. And so it's kind of funny. My wife looks at me and goes, "So what football team or wrestler is that name from?" And I started laughing, and so a week later she goes with her best friend for a while, and they're discussing names and stuff, and my wife tells her that I picked Landry, and she's like, "Actually, I like that." And so yeah, that's how we decided. So after her friend gave the okay on Landry, that's how he got her name. So he was almost a Lyric.
A good name.
Yeah. So, but all right. Well, we're about done here. You go out. Oh, okay. Well, you can stay right here then.
She loves her daddy.
Yeah, she sure does. She's my right hand woman there. So getting ready. We were putting up some electric fence and different things this last weekend for our horses and that were out where we board, and so yeah, her and her brother were helping me, and so I called them my fencing crew. It was pretty fun. So
That's why it's brave enough to touch the electric fence, but it didn't.
did you hear, Jeff? I've got my earbuds on, so
What? No,
um
I didn't.
oh, she said that she was brave enough to touch the electric fence by herself.
Oh,
So all right.
that hurts.
Anyway, yeah, it does. They found out, so but all right.
Well, that's what we
So
have going on for tomorrow anyway. Other than that,
so that's
the
at 10:30 tomorrow
10,
at the
10:30 a.m. At the Capitol Memorial Hall, which is first floor.
memorial.
If
Okay.
anybody wants to attend, I was hoping to get 25 people in the audience. We have 25 chairs, and I do know that we should meet that goal as well because I've talked to several people that are thinking about coming up. So it'd be
Good.
nice to have a little group of people to talk to anyway, and show support, and we'll see. I know the last press conference they had well over 25. I think they probably had more like 75 to 100,
Well, cool.
and well
And that'd
attended.
be nice.
Yeah. Well, I don't expect a lot with this nice weather and everybody's busy and enjoying their spring,
Spring. Yep.
and I don't it's even hard for me to impose on people to ask them to come and
Right.
support it, because even legislators, because I just know how hard it is to put everything down, and it's like, oh, here we go again. And a lot of
Right.
times you do all these things, and then you don't really see the fruit of your action. You feel like you didn't get anything done, and so
Yep.
you just wasted a couple days. Like today, I've spent most of the day contacting other legislators and following up on emails and stuff. So as a Goldilocks type day, and it's sad I couldn't be out working, but I do have a duty to the people that elected me, and so
Yep.
if I'm not a servant doing my duty, then I'm no good. Then they might as well get somebody else. So I'm
That's good.
honored to serve. I'm honored to serve the people here, and I respect their opinions, and I'm happy to help out. I just would hope we have some good fruit out of our efforts here.
Yep. Well, I for one appreciate everything that you do, Jeff. I know that you go through a lot and sacrifice a lot. I've seen it firsthand multiple times. It's been great getting to know you and your wife and your family, and so I for one appreciate it, and I know that there's a lot of people out there that do. Sometimes it doesn't seem like it, but you have a following, you have some good supporters, and we're very appreciative to everything that you do. So
Well, thank you, Shiloh. I appreciate what you're doing too, and all the patriots that are stepping up and
yeah,
getting involved. And I mean, the first thing I keep referring back to your question, what's the next step? I think we're doing a lot of good things in the state as far as taking back our party, and it seems like we're gaining momentum there. And
kind of
so
sounds like
yep, go ahead.
we've irritated a few people over on the eastern side of the state, huh?
Yeah, the conservatives are rising up over there, and they're trying to
Yeah,
take back their districts, and the people that are not Republicans over there that have infiltrated and gotten in position, they're rebelling now and they're complaining, but they
yeah,
haven't been towing the line.
no,
And so if they're not going to toe the line, they should just get out of the way instead of whining about not being
yep,
appreciated because they're not representing their districts properly, and their votes are voting more for Democrat. Well, then they should really be true to themselves and to their districts and run as Democrats if they're going to vote like a Democrat. So, and not everybody votes right all the time, but some of these people are they're they're not even trying to toe the line and follow the platform. I mean, there's no reason to have a Republican platform. Then you might as well just have a free for all. But then I would just as soon get rid of the whole party system entirely. Then if they're not going to follow the platform, there's no need to have it. What's the point? Some follow it and some don't, and some follow it much closer than others. You know, it's just like if it's a free for all, it's just do like the county commissions and just get rid of the party affiliation and then just vote for the person for who they are or what they've done or what they want to do and go from there.
I agree. Well, all right. Tomorrow your press conference is at 10:30
Yep.
in the Memorial Hall at the Capitol, and that'll start at 10:30, just right after Drew Wigley's done with his. I
Yeah,
imagine when is his at 10 o'clock or when is his?
this is at 9:30, so I'm assuming he'll
9:30?
be done by 10. So we'll have a little lull there, and then we'll have ours.
Okay.
So, might be a good
Well,
learning day good day to learn a lot of good information. Anyway.
there we go.
Yep.
There's always time to do that, right?
And I do know that Beck TV is covering it. Lori Hinch is
Okay.
going to be there. We're going to have KFYR, KX News, Bismarck Tribune, trying to get to Dakotan and PBS yet. And I'm assuming the Fargo Forum or the Egg Week will be covering it as well. So, so we should have pretty good representation by the press.
Sounds good.
And we're probably going to do a Facebook Live.
You are?
Well, I won't be on mine, but I'm trying to get somebody to do one. So well, there's a chance it could be on my Jeff Magrum for state senate, but it's probably not going to be because, but we'll see. I'm not sure, but at least if we get a Facebook Live, then we can share it to other Facebooks.
Yeah. Yeah. If you let me know, I'd definitely will share it to mine and this one here. So.
Well, I shared that Burleigh County opposing carbon pipelines the other day, and they have a continuous Facebook going, and Facebook took it off as objectionable material. It's called Burleigh County opposes carbon pipelines or something to that effect.
Yeah.
But yeah, I shared their post, and I later on when I looked on Facebook here, it was taken down.
They took it down, huh?
Yeah, it just said removed for objectionable material, but all I did is share their post. I never did see anything that was objectionable other than the fact that they obviously are for carbon pipelines.
Yeah. It's unbelievable.
Well, I'll let you go, Shiloh.
If you don't fit their agenda, they just cancel you out. So, but
yeah, we're into a cancel culture. Our own governor tries to cancel some of us out. I mean, you don't toe the line with his agenda, he'll cancel you.
Yep.
And now he's running for president, and the sad part is he might have a chance because he's got the connections with the Bill Gates connection and the George Soros and all those one world globalists that he's chummy with. And then he's gonna have the access to the media because those are the same people that own the media, the national media and the national newspapers. And they can, I mean, they did it with Obama. They did it with Bill Clinton. They can do it with Doug Burgum probably too.
Right. Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I was gonna make a statement on that. So here it goes. With you just saying that and naming all of his associates or backers or however you want to call them, isn't it kind of ironic that China and these other countries are in on this pipeline and we're talking about owning the land after or during these easements and all that for 99 years? Isn't that kind of coincidental? And then to figure out where this pipeline is going, isn't it kind of coincidental? So
no, it's not a coincidence.
I know.
He told me a little over 2 years ago when I was running, when he decided to attack me, and he's done it twice now, that he has an agenda. And he didn't see me. He's seen me as a stumbling block. Well, he was right. I definitely don't agree with his agenda for globalization of America and the world. Really, he's just another globalist. And his statement the other day was very offensive when he said, "Well, if you're against coal and oil and ethanol and farm agriculture and you can be against CARB, and it's like, really? So you're
Yeah.
trying to label interest people like me that are for property rights as anti-industry because we want to protect our land. But Jamie Dimon what the heck is his don't forget the name of his ugh. Anyway, he's got one of the bigger funds in the United States. He said they need to be able to uh, take land for these renewable green new communist projects.
Mhm. Yep.
Yeah.
One thing I'll say, well, one thing I'll say, getting back to the governor, I see a lot of people making jokes and, oh, he doesn't have a chance, this and that. The man isn't to be taken lightly. I don't believe that he is. He's got too many big players, world players behind him, such as Bill Gates, George Soros, Mr. Wonderful, that, they're pushing Bitcoin and stuff. There's a reason, people. It's not a joke. I don't think he's a joke at all. I really don't. And
No,
so,
he's serious about it, and like I said, I don't think you can be any better connected or have any more money than available to anybody than he has.
right,
So I don't. I mean, I see him as a legitimate contender,
I
and
do too.
it scares me.
Unfortunately,
Very scary. Very scary
yeah,
that he is a legitimate contender, and he's the kind of guy that'll attack people, and that might get elevated to a new level of who knows what they'll start doing to people that object to what their agenda is.
yeah. Well, Jeff, I thank you for your time. Will you just hang out for just a second? I need to run something past you off air, and then
Sure.
we'll go. All right, I'm gonna sign off right quick, and I'll be right with you. Thanks
Thanks,
again
Shiloh.
for your time. So there you have it, North Dakota State Senator Jeff Magrum. So I encourage everybody, if you can make it to the Capitol tomorrow at 10:30, to be there for the press conference. If not, you can tune into Beck TV. The press conference is going to be tomorrow at 10:30, State Capitol. And so you guys have a blessed week, and I will see you next week. Adios.